Hello and welcome to the Community.o Summit. I'm Tanya Lattner with the LLVM Foundation. What is the Community.o Summit? Well, we envision it to be an inclusive space for underrepresented groups and newcomers. You can be anywhere in your career, from a student to having a decade-long career in compilers, but what we share is a common interest in learning and contributing to compilers, tools, and programming languages. And we also want to support diversity and inclusion in our respective communities. We have a great list of speakers that include members from different open source communities that share these goals, including LLVM, #include, Rust, Swift, and GCC. The Community.o Summit is hosted by the LLVM Foundation. So you might not know much about the LLVM Foundation. We were created in 2014, and it came out of a growing need to support the LLVM community with a legal entity. And we are a 501c3 public charitable organization, which might not make much sense if you're from another country, but essentially we're a public charity that must serve the public good. And we have a 9-person board, and the members are elected every 2 years. The LLVM Foundation supports the LLVM project through educational materials and events like our LLVM developers meeting, which if you haven't attended one before, I highly recommend it. We usually have 2 a year, and this is one of the few times where members of the LLVM community all get together, network, meet each other, share what they're. It's a really great event, and I highly recommend coming. We also have the Community.o effort. This is our diversity and inclusion outreach program, also known as Women in Compilers and Tools when we first started. We have a scholarships and grants program for students. This means that students can apply for a grant to come and attend either an LLVM event or at some other compiler conference, and not just to present their work, but also attend, because we really think there's a great learning opportunity for students at conferences like that. We also do the nitty-gritty of supporting an open source project, the project infrastructure, dealing with legal issues. We just went through a big relicensing efforts, as you're aware of probably, and then other cross-cutting efforts throughout all the different projects within the LLVM umbrella. Some of our past diversity and inclusion efforts have included panel discussions. We had a few Women in Compilers and Tools panels where we had great discussions about pipeline, mentorship, and the challenges that women face. We've hosted some great guest speakers and talking about imposter syndrome, technical speaking skills, and my favorite, compassionate coding. We've also had a few working workshops where we were brainstorming ideas about how to improve our diversity and inclusion within the LLVM project, and we also focused on improving our documentation, things like that. One of my favorite memories is that we did have a booth at Grace Hopper Conference, and we had this 2 times, and we were one of the few open source projects that had a booth there, and we got to meet lots of great women, earlier in their careers and talk to them about LLVM and how amazing compilers are. We hosted a workshop at CGO last year for Women in Compilers and Tools. And then lastly, we've also sponsored the Programming Language Mentoring Workshop at Splash and PLDI. So that's just a few of the things that we've done over the years. And this brings us to Community.o. This is an LLVM Foundation initiative to increase diversity and inclusion within the LLVM project and the field of compilers and tools as a whole. Now, this is a new face to what we previously called Women in Compilers and Tools and later Diversity and Inclusion. And for many of you, you're like, why the name Community.o? Well, we thought it was a really cute name that is inspired by the compilation model where object files are linked together for a final program. And we related it to how folks from different backgrounds come together to make up LLVM's community and the shared goal of inclusivity. And the name represents what we hope the program will accomplish, which is to build a strong and healthy and diverse open source community. So our Community.o logo here, and we have a tagline linking together all communities. And if you're not familiar, this is the dragon head in a circle there, the LLVM dragon, that is. So what does a healthy and thriving community look like to us? Well, we believe it includes people from all backgrounds, genders, and experiences. And it ensures that everyone feels welcomed and included, and most importantly, empowered to contribute, because we really want individuals to feel that their contributions to our project matter. Our overall goals are to increase participation from a diverse set of individuals to the LLVM project with code contributions, leadership positions and volunteer positions, and speakers and attendance at our events. So it's not just code, but a whole range of different areas that we feel we need to have a diverse set of individuals. We hope to increase diversity of participation within the whole field of compilers and tools. We want to remove barriers and create an inclusive environment for all. And lastly, we want to work with other open source organizations because this problem is not unique to ours alone. So if this all sounds good to you, there are different ways you can get involved. So first, come chat with us. We have a Discord server and we have a Community.o channel. This channel can also be used during the course of the Community.o Summit if you want to chat with other attendees outside of the networking sessions that we have. We also have Discourse Forum where you can post questions and get your answers and just chat amongst each other. Next, we're trying to form groups, specific community groups for people to connect with others with similar backgrounds and experiences. We only have one right now, the Women in Compilers and Tools, but if you're interested in starting a community group, please reach out to us and visit our website. And lastly, attend events. I'm excited to announce that we will be having a Women in Compilers and Tools meetup series. It will be virtual and more details will be coming very soon. And on that note, I'd also like to wish everyone a very happy International Women's Day. And I think it's a great day to start our summit on. So a little bit about me. As I said, I'm the LLVM Foundation President and CEO. I run all the programs for the LLVM Foundation with the support of volunteers, of course, and I set the direction under the guidance of our board of directors. In my previous life, I have worked on a few other things. I implemented OpenCL extensions in Clang, maintained various GPU backends. One of my fonder memories is I worked on a code obfuscation tool. That was pretty great and creative and different use of my compiler skills. I've done code generation optimization for an Itanium backend for Hotspot. I've worked on networking performance analysis tools. Way back in the day, I worked on GDB, LLVM GCC. My thesis was on swing module scheduling. And I've also had some roles within the LLVM community, such as release manager, and also supported the project infrastructure, such as the mailing list, SVN, and web server. So that's kind of me in a nutshell, very quickly. So let's move on. I want to meet all of you. So if you're not familiar with Remo, Remo is a great networking software. And right now you are all seated at tables. You probably already had a chance to chat during our little technical glitch. But what I want to do is go back to that networking session and give you a few moments to talk to your table mates. And then we'll give you an opportunity to switch tables and meet a couple other people. So if we could move into that mode now, that would be great. Okay, I hope everyone had a chance to try Remo out and get a good feel for it. We have networking opportunities every day throughout the summit. Right after this talk, there's actually this Remo session will stay open and you can stay and mingle with other attendees. And then we have dedicated networking sessions on day 2 and day 3. So check the agenda for that information. And if at any point you have trouble with Remo or need some guidance, we do have a help desk. So if you look in the upper right of the floor plan in Remo, you'll see help desk and you can go over there and we have a staff member to assist you. All right, so back to Community.o Summit. So why are we having this and why do we have this initiative? Well, it's no secret that there is a diversity problem in tech. It's kind of the hot topic right now in the news. Everybody is talking about it. Every company is, is aware, and some even have their own initiatives around this. But is it even worse in open source? So there was a 2017 GitHub open source survey, and out of 5,500 participants, only 3% of the people who responded identified as female and one is non-binary. Only 3%. Compare this to many of the stats I've seen for women in computer science is right around like 25%. So that seems to indicate that it's even worse in open source. Now, this is just one aspect of diversity. Obviously, it didn't capture all the other different things we think are important besides just women in computer science. The goal, is more accessible, diverse, and inclusive organizations, including LLVM. Not only is it the right thing to do, but it's proven to drive innovation. And I highly recommend that you go check out the article in Scientific Americans called How Diversity Empowers Science and Innovation. I found it really well written, and I encourage you to check it out and read for yourself. And open source projects should work together. We should have a common goal to try to raise this 3%. And so this survey was done in 2017. It's been a few years since then. It'd be interesting to see if there's a difference today, and if not, like how can we keep improving on that? I encourage you to go and check out the open source survey, but we all have busy lives. So here are a couple of key takeaways that I took from it. The first is documentation is highly valued, frequently overlooked, and a means for establishing inclusive and accessible communities. I really believe in this statement 150%. We've even had workshops about improving LLVM documentation. For many people, a compiler can be very intimidating, and a large project such as LLVM is also intimidating. So documentation is very important. The second is negative interactions are infrequent but highly visible with consequences for project activity. Unfortunately, we've seen this in the LLVM community. In general, I feel most of our developers are very open, inviting, and kind, but it just takes one interaction that's, spread across social media for everyone to have a perception of what your project's like. So it's very important that we keep our interactions positive. Next, open source is used by the whole world, but its contributors don't yet reflect its broad audience. This is definitely true based upon the statistics we just saw on the previous slide. Using and contributing to open source often happens on the job. I'm guessing most of you here are working on LLVM as your day job. Not all, but many. And open source is the default when choosing software. It is no longer some obscure thing that nobody uses. It is used by the vast majority of corporations are using it somewhere within their company. So now we move on to Community.o sessions. You're going to hear from a really amazing number of speakers. We actually opened up all the sessions to everyone who's registered to attend. Before you got to pick a few sessions, but now you'll see those plus a link to all the other sessions. So just click to join on any of them that you are interested in. We have some great workshops, enhancing the LLVM developer experience, enhancing mentor experiences for LLVM project. While both of these are specific to LLVM, I think a lot of the things that will be talked about are applicable to other open source projects. We have 3 great panels. They include C++ panel that's later today, the Swift panel, and then lastly, inclusivity in developer tools and open source that has members from various other open source communities. We've got a great set of lightning talks under the subject of my career in languages and compilers. And then later today, we have a talk, You Are Not Alone, Chasing the Journey of Learning and Belonging. And I highly recommend you check everything out, anything that you can. I think it's going to be a great summit. So unfortunately, I do have some bad news. Our keynote workshop, Deconstructing the Myth, Only Real Coders Contribute to LLVM, with Adelina Chalmers, who I was very excited about her to give this workshop. Unfortunately, it's been canceled due to illness. But don't worry, we will have Adelina back, and we're planning to reschedule her in a couple months. So stay tuned for details on that. This summit would not be possible without our sponsors. These are sponsors of the LLVM Foundation and all the events and all the programs that we do. So thank you so much to these sponsors. and also our corporate supporters. And just a few final items here. One of the great things that we did this time around for this event is we have a job postings for our members of the summit. You can go and view these on the website, and these are all the sponsors that have current job openings listed there. And then if you like swag and you need a new shirt, we have a store open with the Community.o logo on it as well. Great. And that's the end of my presentation. So I will now bring Cindy here to help me moderate if anyone has any questions. Cindy is a co-organizer of this event and a fellow LLVM Foundation board member. Thanks, Cindy.
Thank you, Tanya, and thank you everyone for attending the first session of our summit. If anyone would like to ask questions, feel free to open up the chat box. There's going to be a tab that says Q&A, and we'll be happy to answer any questions, or Tanya would be happy to answer any questions there. We did start out with a few question prompts. We can start off there if there's no questions yet. Tanya, is there anything that you're most interested in to learn about in the summit?
Oh gosh, it's hard to pick just one thing. But I'm really, for me, as you know, is my role in the LLVM Foundation and my passion and interest in our initiative, I'm really interested in learning more about what other open source communities are doing in the field of diversity and inclusion, and what are they doing in their projects, because I really believe that we got to learn from each other and leverage what our experiences are. So I'm looking forward to attending the panels and also participating in the last panel.
There's definitely lots of opportunities to learn about that in the summit. I don't see any questions, and so I guess that means that everyone feels like there is a lot of information and they feel great about it. We do welcome everyone to stay around if you can for the networking session, and then also there's going to be events open throughout the 3 days, and so hopefully we'll see you again.
Great, thank you everyone.
Thank you.